late 16th century, as England dreamed of building an empire across the Atlantic, one bold plan emerged: to establish a permanent English colony in the New World. It would be a place of hope, ambition, and new beginnings. But what happened instead became one of the most chilling mysteries in American history. The story of the Lost Colony of Roanoke. It all began in 1584, when explorers Philip Amadas and Arthur Barlow were sent by Sir Walter Raleigh to scout the coast of what is now North Carolina. They returned to England with glowing reports of fertile lands, friendly natives, and endless opportunity. Queen Elizabeth I was impressed, granting Raleigh the right to establish an English settlement there. It would be called Virginia, in honour of the Virgin Queen. In 1585, the first colony was established on Roanoke Island, led by Ralph Lane. But this first attempt was harsh and difficult. The settlers faced food shortages, conflicts with local tribes, and the constant threat of starvation. When Sir Francis Drake happened to arrive after a raid in the Caribbean, the desperate colonists abandoned Roanoke and sailed back to England. But Raleigh was not ready to give up. 2 years later, in 1587, he sent another group, this time families instead of soldiers, to build a true, thriving colony. The expedition was led by John White, a skilled artist and mapmaker. Among the 115 settlers were men, women, and children, including White's own daughter, Eleanor Dare, who soon gave birth to the first English child born in the New World, Virginia Dare. The new settlers planned to go to Chesapeake Bay, but their pilot refused and dropped them once again on Roanoke Island. Despite the challenges, they worked to rebuild and settle. John White decided to return to England for supplies, a trip he expected to take only a few months, but fate had other plans. When White reached England, war had broken out with Spain. Every ship was needed for the fight against the Spanish Armada. White's return to the colony was delayed, not for weeks or months, but for 3 long years. When he finally returned to Roanoke in August 1590, what he found chilled him to the bone. The settlement was completely deserted. There was no sign of struggle, no bodies, no smoke rising from the chimneys, only silence. The buildings had been carefully dismantled, not destroyed. The only clue left behind was a single word carved into a post: Croatoan. White took it as a hopeful sign. Perhaps the settlers had moved to Croatoan Island, now known as Hatteras, but a storm forced the search party to turn back, and they never reached the island. John White never saw his family again. From that day on, the fate of the Roanoke settlers has been one of history's most enduring mysteries. What really happened to them? Some believe they were killed by hostile tribes. Others think they may have tried to sail back to England and were lost at sea. A popular theory suggests they joined friendly native tribes to survive, slowly blending in over generations. Archaeological evidence from nearby Hatteras Island and the mainland, pottery, tools, and artifacts of English origin seems to support this possibility, but nothing definitive has ever been found. The word Croatoan itself has taken on an eerie life of its own in American folklore. It appears again and again throughout history, carved on trees, found in mysterious deaths, or written in journals linked to disappearances. Some even believe it carries a supernatural curse. For example, when the American writer Edgar Allan Poe disappeared shortly before his death in 1849, one of the last words he reportedly muttered was Croatoan. The word was later found carved into the post of his boarding house. Coincidence, or something more? Even more strangely, the word appeared at other unexplained vanishings. Carved into the bed ghost of the vanished sailor Ambrose Bierce, and written in the journal of Amelia Earhart before her disappearance. While historians dismiss these as myths, the legend of the Lost Colony has become woven into the darker side of American storytelling. Over the centuries, countless expeditions have searched for the remains of the colonists. From early 17th century explorers to modern archaeologists armed with satellite imaging and DNA testing, small fragments, broken pottery, European tools and ancient maps marked with mysterious symbols have been found. Yet none can definitively solve what happened to the men, women and children of Roanoke. Perhaps the settlers were absorbed by nearby tribes, raising generations who forgot their English roots. Perhaps they perished quietly in the wild, their remains swallowed by the Carolina marshes. Or perhaps they left Roanoke in search of a new home, only to vanish into the endless forests of early America. Whatever the truth, the Lost Colony remains a haunting symbol of hope, ambition, and the thin line between discovery and disaster. It reminds us how fragile humanity's first steps into the unknown truly were. Over 4 centuries later, the mystery still captures the imagination of historians, storytellers, and dreamers.